afternoon, everyone. Happy November. Welcome you joining today's class, How to Handle the Pandemic Challenges, Landlord Tenant Situation. I'm Pauline Lam from Cotai Realty, your 2020 Co-Chair Education Committee, Western Gable Valley Realtors. Before the meeting starts, all participants will be muted. Should you have any questions, please enter it into the chat box. Speaker will answer it during the Q&A section. This meeting is being recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel, Western Gable Valley Realtors. Today, I'm so happy to have Mr. Wei Ming Lee, our Education Committee member, to introduce our special speaker, Ms. Joy Mao. Now, Mr. Lee, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Pauline, for that introduction. We're really happy today to have Joy Mao, who come to be our speakers. And I'll share with you a little background on what Joy does before coming to today's meeting. She was interested in the property management business in 2004. At that time, she was working for Legacy Property Management, Express Property Management, and MJ Property Service. So throughout those years, she has learned and acquired new skills in how to handle residential properties. And then after that, in 2018, she joined her husband, Dean Wu, who is her technical support person at the background with Pinnacle. So now she's working for Pinnacle International Property Management Services. And that company managed close to 600 doors, mostly single family homes and condos. And then they have some smaller apartments, about 14 of them. They specialize in difficult tenant landlord problems. So you deal with that type of issues, especially currently, now we have the pandemic coming. We can ask her all sorts of questions. And on my first interaction with Joy, she is almost talking like a paralegal. So she knows a lot about some of the loopholes and some of the things that you guys might fall traps into. The other thing they want to do is that they want to increase the property values. If the property is managed well, an investor will see and appreciate in property values. And I'm sure some of the landlords among our participating audience wants to do that. And during this pandemic, and she shared with me that they were able to keep their rent collection rate. Listen to this. A lot of people don't want to pay rent during this period, and I personally have dealt with some of them. And they can keep their rent collection rate at above 95%. That is very, very good. And then the vacancy rate, I don't know how she does that, less than 1%. That means one bedroom is vacant. Other than that, her vacancy rate is almost nil. The company, one thing I like about the company is that they don't do any buy and sell. So the main focus is just on management and dealing with the property tenants that you might have. So they see themselves as helping the landlord, and some of us who might be interested in buying apartments in the future, you can certainly contact them. So now, Joy, without further ado, you're going to share your knowledge and experience with our participating audience. Your turn now, Joy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lee. Hi, my name is Joy Mao. I work for Pinnacle International. For the past couple years, we have been dealing with a lot of difficult tenant landlord situation. It never been an even more difficult time than today, because today, right now, it's the first time the law is not on our side. In California, 78% of the voting population are actually renters. So landlord and the property manager business basically are being put aside to protect the majority, which is kind of understandable. However, how do we drive through this very difficult time, and how do we try to prepare us for the time actually come when the law is on our side? Today's basically what I want to go over. Starting from what is our limitation on what we can do, okay? In America, federal already have a moratorium for CDC guideline. That means nobody can file any eviction until December 2020. Federal's limitation doesn't really apply to California because we have a stricter one. But if you have any investor who has property that's outside of California, you need to let them know, especially if they have federal backup loan like Fannie Mae, Freddie Mae, they can't file any eviction until the end of December. Of course, there are some income limitations. There are documents that the tenant needs to submit it. However, there are limitations over there. Today, I'm going to be more focused on California's law. Everybody knows California passed Assembly Bill AB 3088 back in September 1st. What does this bill do? This bill basically has 4 to 5 very important components. The first component is about rent collection. All the money that tenant owe starting from March to August. So basically from March 1st to August 31st. During this time, they call it protective period. Inside the protect period, whatever money they owe, as long as they sign the declaration of the COVID financial impact, you cannot go after them. Money that they owe from September 2020 to January 21st. During this time is called transit period. During transit period, you also can't really go after them, even though the law says that they supposedly should pay 25%. So I'm going to move to next slide to give you a little bit more clear picture. So with the part that's protective time period, by law, you should already give them a 15-day notice of pay rent or quit. If they reply back to you, which means that they sign the paperwork, say, hey, I'm being affected by COVID, I have financial difficulty. Those money they owe from March 1st, 2020 to August 31st, 2020 become a civil debt. By civil debt means that you cannot use that money. That's not rent anymore. It's civil debt. Civil debt goes to small collection. But how do you collect it? There are skills of how to do it, which we're going to discuss later. If the tenant makes more than $100,000, which is the information that usually you are collected during the application time, okay? If the tenant have higher income, you can ask them for proof, but they don't really have to submit over to your certification. They can easily say, oh, I lost my job. Then that will be up to the court to decide, does that count? So that basically wipe out the rent for March to August, because we all know that when we go to small claim court, even though we got a judgment, it's really hard to collect the money. Then we move on to right now, the transit time period, which is September 1st to February 1st. During this period of the time, the tenant only need to pay 25% of the rent. And this rent is not due until January 31st, 2021. So that means that if you submit the paperwork, which is the 15 days notice for pay or quit, and they reply back say, I infected by COVID, that means you can't collect the money until January 31st, 2021. So everybody say, oh, eviction is coming back on February 1st. That's like kind of true. That means that if they didn't pay that 25% of the rent by February 1st, it's due. You serve them a 3-day pay or quit, because all the 15-day notice expires on February 1st. So by February 1st, you can use 3-day pay or quit back again. Serve them 3-day pay or quit. Then you can evict them based on the 25% that they owe. Now you're probably going to ask me, what about those 75%? That 75% is due also on January 31st, but instead of a rent money, which means that you can evict them based on, that becomes a consumer debt again, civil debt again. So you have to go through the proper channel to start the eviction, to start the collection with the small claim court. The only good thing out of this is that they temporarily waive the limitation, because on small claim court, there is a $10,000 limitation on every case. So if this is rent money they owe, basically you can file it through the small claim court, even though it is over $10,000, which is very easily to go over. So that's basically the first part of the AB 3088, which is the part that owner care about the most. So this is the collection part. Now we talk about a lot of owners say, okay, fine, they don't pay rent. Can I just kick them out? I don't want them in my property anymore. I don't want them. Can you just kick them out? The lease is about to expire or is already expired. Can I kick them out? So on this bill, AB 3088, they expand the just cause eviction. Oh, sorry, I missed this one. So in order for you to be able to file the claim in the small claim court, you have to do proper document. Proper document means, number one, the money that they owe during protective time, which is from March 1st, 2020 to August 31st, 2021, those money, you need to serve them the 15-day notice to pay rent or move out, which is a document that's supposed to be served by September 30th, 2020. If you haven't do it, please do it as soon as possible.
Joy?
Okay? So,
Joy?
yes.
Mr. Lee here. You're talking a lot of stuff. Can you slow down a little bit? I know you talk fast. Yeah, because there's a lot of details that people might be trying to write down. So, or looking at the screen. So slow down a little bit.
Whoever wants a slideshow, they can just show me an email ID and I'll send it over to them.
Okay.
Okay, I'll slow down. I'll repeat one more time. Sorry, I talk very fast usually. So okay, I'll try.
Yeah. Okay.
Because it's a lot of information to share actually. So
We have time.
I'll repeat one more time. Okay, so the money that's owed during the protective time, which is from March 1st to 2020 to August 31st, 2020. During this time, protective area, those money is civil debt. You cannot evict people because they owe you the money. It doesn't really matter what the landlord think, what we think, that's the law. They say you just can't evict them during that. If they owe you the money, you have to collect it as a civil debt, which means that you need to go to small claim court. And in order for you to do that, it doesn't grant you the power to just do it. In order for you to be able to collect the money from small claim court, you have to serve the notice, which is called 15 days notice to pay rent or move out. Also, in that notice, you need to give them the COVID Tenant Relief Act 2020 notice. That means the government is putting the responsibility on your hands to notify your tenant. Guess what? You don't need to pay the money until February 1st, 2021, okay? Also, you need to have a declaration of the financial distress, which is the formal name of the form. So the tenant can just sign it under the perjury of the federal perjury crime, whatever, then just send the paper back to you. Then you cannot evict them, basically, period. One more thing about this is that in small claim court, the base of small claim court is to help people to collect money that they cannot collect through the regular channel. So in order for you to file the case to the court, a little trick or tips that most people are not doing right now is you need to show intent of collection. By showing intent of collection, that makes your case more strong, more complete. Because from August to March 1st, that when you can actually file the claim, it's a long time. So we, like our company, the money that we already calculate out during that protected period of time, we don't just let it sit on the shelf. We send out invoices every month to let them know, hey, you still owe this money. When do you intend to pay? We send out a legal letter to tell them, hi, we are here to solve your problem. We would like to negotiate with you. What can we do to help you to set up a payment plan? What can you do? What can we do to help you? So you need to show intent of collection. So when you're filing the small claim cases by March, you have better or bigger chance to actually got the reward of the judgment. So that's the protective time, okay? Now we move on to the transit time. The transit period time is basically from September 1st, 2020 to January 31st, 2021. What does this mean? This means that by the bill, the tenant only need to pay 25% of the rent. Doesn't mean the other 75% got waived or disappear or the landlord has to give it for free. Is they still owe you the money. Is that you have to collect it also through small claim court and through the proper channel. You can't just say, you didn't pay me the money, I'm going to evict you, I'm sending you to the unlawful detent court, bye-bye. You can't do that. The 25% that they owe, the due date is January 31st, 2021, which means that if they don't pay a dime now, then they give you a check of 1.25 months of the rent, which is 5 months. So 5 times 0.25 is 1.25 at January 30, 2021. You can't evict them. Horrible situation, but we just have to deal with it. With this one, if you're helping owner to manage the property, or if you're a landlord yourself, or if you know your landlord is managing property themselves, please remind them they have to do the notice, which is a 15-day notice, pay rent or move out every single month. Your tenant also need to sign that declaration back every single month for them to qualify. If they are rich tenants, so to speak, make a high income, the income is more than $100,000. You can ask for additional document to show that they got laid off, they lost their job, their family got sick, any reason that they're infected by this financial distress. But you can't really call their company to verify that. They just need to provide you with the paperwork. Some of my owner asked me, what if they don't turn back the declaration? I gave them the proper notice. They didn't respond. Can I then file the eviction? Answer is yes. Yes, if you send them the notice, they didn't respond. They didn't give you any response or telling you or giving you a paperwork or even shoot you an email tell you, I'm infected by COVID. You can file the eviction, okay? The thing is that the court also have a substandard, which is by the Judicial Council, that if they didn't file the paperwork, you spend the money, $1,000 something dollar, and bring the case to the court. Wait for your turn, then you got to hearing this in front of a judge, right? Then the tenant by then submit this declaration. What does it do? The court has to stop. The judge has to hold a hearing to hear the tenant why they didn't submit the form in time. If it's because negligent, or is it because, oh, I don't know, I can't read, or it's because I forgot, I don't understand, I'm under stress, I don't know. Very possibly due to the political weather that the court is going to accept that declaration, then your case will get dismissed. So overall, in property manager's world, it's not worth to file the eviction right now until February 1st, 2021. But again, in order to you be successful doing this, number one, you have to make sure all the paperwork is airtight, which means number has to be totally corrected. You need to give them more than enough time to respond, and all the information on there has to be totally correct. Okay, so this is a rent collection part. A lot of owners then feel like, you don't pay rent, don't stay in my house, move out. Okay, on this bill, I believe everybody knows about the AB 1482, the rent control bill that passed the last year. On there, most of the property have what do you call it? Oh, hold on, where's my just cause eviction? Okay. So on the just cause on the AB 3088, they extend the just cause eviction to every residential houses. It used to be if the house is under natural person, no corporation involved, LLC, living trust, those kind of title, and if it's 15 years or younger property, or if it's single family house, condos, then it's exempt from this just cause eviction. It's exempt from the rent control. However, this AB 3088 temporarily expanded. So that means that even though your house is exempt from rent control, which you did the paperwork, you did the whole qualification thingy, you are under rent control right now for the just cause eviction part. People are asking me, what is just cause eviction? Which means that you can't kick tenant out. You can't terminate the lease agreement if the tenant is not at fault. What does that mean for tenants at fault? For example, if the house is like the tenant is breaking the lease, they have an unauthorized pet in there. They have an unauthorized person in there. They don't keep the house clean. They damage the yard. They create a nuisance. They curse and threaten to kill you. They create threatening of the community. That's considered nuisance, right? That's considered breaking up the lease. With that, you actually can file eviction to kick them out. They also limit the non-just cause eviction to 3 only. The three will be, the 3 will be if you are an owner and you are moving back. But on the fine print of that bill says that if you say you're an owner, you are removing this property by like from the rental market, you are intend to keep it out for 4 years. That means that during these 4 years, if you bring the pandemic finish, you bring the property back to the rental market, and somebody actually find it and report it to the fair housing, you'll be in trouble. They also allow you to evict or ask the tenant to leave if you are in the property is in an escrow and your buyer is going to be owner occupied, which means that they're going to move into this property. They bought the property for themselves. Then they can ask the tenant to leave. And or a lot of owners are trying to say the house needs to be renovated, so I want the house back. However, you can only do that under government order, under this AB 3088. So question is that you can't kick the tenant out even though their lease expires. Basically, like our company, whatever lease that expire, we keep it month to month for now until next February. Then we're going to revisit and see how strong is this tenant again. All right, so this is a part that's like really, in fact, a lot of people. But it also brings one thing, because originally all the eviction has been banned, which means that if they create nuisance, they don't take out the property, they even grow marijuana in the house, you can't evict them before. After this bill, you actually can evict them if they're not a good tenant. So a lot of people who own rent right now, we're doing monthly inspection. We're telling them you're not taking care of this. I'm giving you 15 days to correct it. You don't correct it, I'm giving you paperwork too quick. Then you don't do it, I can file eviction. You can also basically pick on their pet if they on the lease agreement they only have 1 pet, but right now they have 2. We used to avoid it before in the very good time before the COVID. Any problem, we go with the rent. As long as they don't pay rent, we evict them. We don't go with the cost eviction because that's the burden of proving it is on the owner and the landlord and also the property manager. But right now, that's the only fast track to get it out, so to speak. So that's the just cause eviction part. Now we go to the better part of the eviction, I mean the bill. The only good thing, in my opinion, that's good is that they actually limit the local eviction moratorium, which means that when this bill passed, any local government has no more right to issue any more new moratorium. So if this moratorium is expired, let's say on January 1st, any city, if they have this kind of protection to the tenant that's going to be expired on January 1st, they cannot extend it, okay? If they have, for example, great example, LA City. LA City's protection to the tenants is that if the pandemic finished, tenant have 12 months to pay the rent back, which means the rent is not due until, let's say if we finish on January 1st, we say COVID is gone, no more COVID. They have until the end of December of 2021 to pay back the money. You can't evict them during this time. This bill actually put an end date of it, which means that no matter, because this COVID might not finish on January, it might finish on May 2021, then that's going to be dragging on forever. So this bill actually put an end date, which means that starting, it doesn't matter when the COVID finish, your repayment period starts on February 1st, 2021. That means even with the most strict LACD, the tenant only have until February 1st, 2022 to pay back the money. It's not ideal. Honestly, I hate it because we do also manage property in LACD. It was a nightmare, but at least there's an end time for the situation. So that's one of the things that we think is very good. And one more thing is most people doesn't really pay attention is that a lot of people say, how about I just change the lock? I don't want them there. I'm throwing their stuff on the street. I want to change the lock. That's my house. I got to do what I want to do. Unfortunately, before COVID, if you do that and the tenants sue you, landlord is landlord will be punished for about $100 a day for the damage. So let's say if you throw the tenant out 14 days earlier than it should be, you'll be punished for $1,400. This AB30AA raised the money to $1,000 a day to $2,500 a day. They are trying to scare people not to throw people out on the street. So that's one of the things most people don't really recognize for this bill. Okay, so this is what we're currently facing. Now goes to how can we resolve it? Okay, you can't evict people for money. So just like I said earlier, we try to evict people for behavior. So for example, they they disturb their neighbors, they don't behave. We even pick on people who don't have good lawns. If they cannot fix the lawn, we throw them, hey, we're going to evict you, do you want to talk to us, something like that. If they're violating, for example, a lot of people have loud music parties with the HOAs. They have like condition of the house that they're not taking care. Those are all beginning stage of the eviction. But those eviction actually take a very long time. Right now, the time we haven't even goes to February's eviction wave yet. Right now, the eviction waiting time for a court day is about 3 months. So when you filed it, that's like a long time for them to come back. And the court intentionally, I shouldn't say intentionally, the court is overwhelmed too. So it takes longer for them to process it. So right now, as of today's November, I think November, the wait time is about 3 months. We're anticipate when the eviction wave hit, even though we don't go to the courtroom, the eviction is going to be 4 to 6 months. It's honestly not in the best interest of the owner or investors to do eviction nowadays. So we strongly suggest you, if you have a tenant that's in really in difficulty, try to negotiate with them. Try to say, hey, how about this? I know you're in difficulty, but my landlord is also in difficulty. We really can't afford this anymore. How about I give you a little money if you're moving out in such time? I'll waive all the money you owed during March to August. Because please remember, that's civil court. It goes to small claim court. Chances of you getting the money back is very, very little. Try to negotiate with them. We use cash for cases in many cases. Since June, the people who we see the situation that they cannot really pay, the true one, okay, the one really get infected. We start to negotiate with them and try to persuade them to move out. We got, I won't say a huge success, but we were able to get rid of some of the residents who doesn't have ability to pay and replace them with better residents who actually can pay. So negotiation is really the top choices that we have right now. Trying to be compassionate, even though you feel that why. Right now is not the time to think about why. It's the time to think about what should we do to help you to either pay rent or structure a payment plan or to move out. So our company do offer to our realtor friends a free consultation because we don't do buy and sell. We will offer free consultation to owners if they would like some suggestion on how they talk to the owner. And if you guys want any of the letters that we use or the emails samples that we use, feel free to email me at the end of the seminar. I'll be happy to provide them to kind of like a sample for you guys. Okay. All right, so now comes to the common question that I got from a lot of my realtor friends, because our company work with a lot of realtors, because again, we don't do buy and sell. So we work with a lot of realtors. So we help a lot of them during this very difficult time to get rid of the people and answer a lot of their questions. The ones that's showing on your screen are the ones that we answer the most. When lease expire, can I terminate the lease? Legally, you could, but you shouldn't. Because what happened when you terminate the lease agreement and your tenant doesn't want to move? Eviction, but you cannot evict them because they're limited to just cause eviction. So, and it's very easy to trigger the tenant to pull the COVID card, say, oh my God, I'm affected by COVID. So we try, as I said, our company don't renew the lease right now because we can't really raise the rent anyway. We keep it month to month until next February. After this AB 3088 sunset, then we will start to renegotiate with the tenant and see what's the situation by then. Can sell the house when the tenant is in there right now? Yes, of course you can. It's the owner's house. It's your house. You can sell whenever you want. However, when you are scheduled for the inspection, please take huge precaution on it, because we help some of the agents to show the houses to the potential people. And when we do have the situation that tenant report back in a week that they got COVID. We have the situation that the inspector got COVID. Now we have to notify the tenant, and guess what? It's a huge drama out there that owner has to pay tenant some money to calm them down, those kind of stuff. So when you're doing the house selling showings, of course we have the proper forms, the whole 9 yards, but please be extra careful. It doesn't even hurt to maybe just pay them a day's rent, to ask them, hey, how about this? Do you want to go to the park? Here's some money, go get something, It's better they're not home, and sanitize the home after the showings or after the inspection. This is a legal protection on your part to not get into this kind of trouble. Can I raise the rent? Let's put it this way. There's no law that says you cannot raise the rent over the rent control time period. You can't raise over 10% because we're in pandemic. So if you raise over 10%, that's basically price gouging. But we have the AB 1482 rent control splash out to all of our properties. So you can't raise more than 8.9%. I don't suggest any rent raise right now because we haven't heard from Fair Housing yet. Fair Housing usually jump out at the end of the show, and they're going to ask you to roll back. It's going to be a huge accounting troubles by then. So right now is really not the time to raise the rent. That's at least my experience and my suggestion. And the notice that I need to go out, I already kind of show you guys. I can email you the copy if you need it. Again, just email me at the end of the seminar. And we don't charge a late fee right now. Can I charge late fee? Late fee is something that's very interesting in California because we put it on the lease agreement. Most tenants will pay it if you ask for it. However, there's no legal background on late fee. A lot of times, if you go to court, the court only allow you to ask for rent. They don't. They allow you to get maybe little legal fees, but they don't allow you to do anything else. So late fee, as of right now, we don't charge late fee. A federal backed up loan, you are not allowed to charge late fee. If you're getting any kind of forbearance, you're not allowed to charge late fee as well. So late fee wise, it's a subject that I would say right now don't touch it until February 1st, 2021. And you need to remember to send a letter on January to let them know, hi, I hope you're okay. Pandemic's about to finish or whatever. We will start to resume with our regular lease agreement. Don't mention that I will start to charge late fee, but you need to say I start to resume with the lease agreement because you waived it for so long, they'll assume those are gone. You need to remind them. And do I have to take out repair even tenant does not pay rent? Okay, you have to do repairs. That's actually something that our company already started to do inspections, calling tenants, not for the rent, just to say, how are you? Is there any leak? Is there any problems? Is there any uninhabitable condition? Because if your property is uninhabitable right now, tenant doesn't pay rent, they're not going to tell you. For example, if they have bad bug at their house, the day that they told you they have bad bug, you can't charge them rent. If they don't told you right away, then they go to the court and say, oh, I don't know, but I found out this, that's why I'm not paying rent. I contact my landlord, yada, yada, yada. It's going to be a huge headache. There are 7 items in California that you have to provide: heating, safety, secure of the house, roofing, working plumbing, working electricity, cooking ware, and safe and sound environment, which is a pest control part. So if your property is not habitable, you legally can't charge them rent. Then when you go to court later, you're going to have a lot of problems. Okay, do I renew my lease with my tenant? That's really up to everybody's like. I don't right now, just can't because I can't raise rent and there's no benefit for my owner to renew it right now. We will revisit this by February and see how's the political weather and how's the rental market by then. And negotiate for payment plans. So basically, we try to make them at least pay current rent. We talk to them, we sit down with them, talk about their income, talk about their kids, talk about their life. Then we try to help them to set up a payment plan. It's basically $200-300 extra amounts. That's what people can afford right now. Try at least they show intent of trying to catch up. So when the market become better next year, we might negotiate to let them use some of the deposit to pay, or maybe we will give them a more higher payment plan. It really depends on how you communicate with the tenant. Communication is really the key. We also helped a lot of our renters to apply for the CD's assistance program. Claremont have it, Irvine have it, downtown LA have it, El Monte have it, Boeing Park have it. There's a lot of CD actually have it. Fullerton have it too. Anaheim, I think they're closing up already. I also helped a lot of owners to negotiate the lump sum payment, which means that if you can pay 2 months rent, I'm going to waive you a month. Because those money honestly is gone. We don't know what the government going to do to pay the owner back, but those money is going to be really, really hard to get back. So that's what we do to try to keep our high rent collection rate and keep our vacancy low right now. It's not really a great time to have vacancy. But that depends on which county you're at right now. So that's what our company does. Okay, I would like to share a little bit of tenant movement because I got a lot of question about this one. The trend that our company sees are people are moving out of city to suburban. They don't like condo, they don't like townhouse anymore. They want to have a yard. I think it's because of the pandemic. They are consolidating, which means that you no longer see one family with one children. You see maybe sister and brother are renting together, also because of this current economic situation. We are having longer vacancy time in Irvine, especially Belinda, Placentia, in Orange County right now. But our houses in Riverside or in San Bernardino County are rented out like that, like 1 week or two, then we already rent out the property. LA County is getting a little bit slower too, but if you're a single family house, you do rent out very fast. That might be something if an investor is thinking about buying, you can tell them. Right now, San Bernardino rental market is very hot. Riverside rental market is very hot. Orange is kind of cold. I guess it's because the price is too high. Most people can't afford it. So that's basically the trend we're looking at. The last thing I want to share is that how do we select tenant? Because right now is a very, very difficult time. You get people in, they don't pay. It's going to be bad. It's going to be really hard to get people out. So when you are checking, of course, all of us check backgrounds. We check their, rental histories. We check their credits. There are a few things I want to share with you. Job history, okay? We need to look at their job. Are they essential? Because COVID is not going anywhere. It's going to be a while. Like the fitness people who usually to make a lot of money, if they haven't now, you might want to consider, can they really afford the house? Do they keep on changing job to different location? Because they need to report at least 2 jobs to you. So you look at those, then you look at, okay, they don't stay for a very long time. That might not be a good applicant. We always ask for 2 months of the full bank statement. We don't take the screenshot. We want the full bank statement. Reason of it is number one, I want to see the average money you have in the bank. Like, do you have negative from time to time? How do you spend your money? Like, do you spend a lot of money on Uber Eats, Grubhub, those kind of stuff? Or do you like spend your money wisely? Do you have savings? Do you bounce your checks a lot? We do background check over 50 states because there are a lot of times we find out people have perfect record in California, but they actually have drug trafficking in Maine or in Carolina or somewhere. So you need to do 50 states background check nowadays. And we do 2 levels of the landlord verification because right now we are not allowed to tell other property manager or anybody verify with us that they owe COVID rent because that should not affect their credit. So we can't tell people. So I usually not only checking this landlord, I check another landlord, the landlord before or the landlord before, wherever I can trace back. we try to verify that way. If they are like not too far away from the property I'm renting, it's a good idea to drive by to take a look at how they maintain the house in today's market. Also, a lot of people actually are willing to pay a little bit extra to get a little bit discount on the rent. We try to collect at least 3 months of the rent if possible. Reason being, it will cover us until February. So that way their protection is finished, we go back to normal, then we can deal with them normally. So that basically concludes what I want to say. Hey, I'm just in time. Good. Any question?
Joy,
Yeah, I'm here.
you basically finished your presentation, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So now I'm going to open the floor up. And then for those of you who have questions, please write in a chat box. And then if for some reason I don't quite understand the way you phrase your question, then you unmute yourself and then you can ask Joy directly. But for now, I will try to control the traffic.
Thank you.
Perfect. Now Joy's information is posted on the screen. So, and let me just say thank you. I learned a lot from this short session, despite the fact you talk a little bit too fast for some of our audience. But that was a lot of good information passed out, and I want the audience early on that you know a lot about the legal aspects of property management, which a lot of mom and pop don't know, and they learn it the hard way when they start making mistakes. Okay, now I'm gonna start with the question. First question I have way back is in the beginning from Joe. Hi, Joe. The question Joe asked was, Joe, you mentioned about that something called 15-day notice. Most of us landlords are familiar with 3-day pay or quit. Where do you get that 15-day notice, or is something that Pinnacle drafted on your own?
I can just talk and answer a question, right?
Yeah. Now it's me and you talking.
3-day notice is temporarily put in the closet starting from September 1st, 2020. You no longer can serve 3-day notice. It being replaced by 15-day notice. I think a lot of apartment associations, a lot of those kind of landlord groups, they all have their own 15-day notice. We didn't draw up our own. We got it from one of the associations that we're a member with, one of the one that's most lenient towards the landlord. I think it's AOA. I don't really remember which association, but you can also find it online. If you don't have it, you can email me and I will provide over to you my copy of the 15-day notice. It's out there online. It is required to give to anybody who owns rent. There's 2 different types of 15-day notice. The first one is the one for the protective period, March to August. That one you're supposed to send it out before September 30, but it's not too late to catch up. So please send it out as soon as possible. The other one is the transit period 15-day notice. That one is from September to January. And you have to basically update it because they have different months on there. So you have to update that notice every month and deliver to the tenant. And tenant have 15 days to reply back to you. This 15-day notice is going to be sunset, which means it's going to be expired by January 31st, 2021. That means we can go back to normal by February 1st, 2021. If tenant doesn't pay their February rent by if our California legal system doesn't extend this, they say they won't, but we don't know. If they don't extend this, we're going back to normal on February 1st, 2021. If the tenant doesn't pay rent, you can serve them a 3-day notice and evict them.
Okay. Now I ask a question from, is it Victoria? No, okay. Well, let me go on to Jenna Chiu. Jenna Chiu has a question, and you have talked about the 2 different periods. Do these apply to commercial properties?
AB 3088 is only for residential. California doesn't care about small business that much. They care about their voter. So they made this AB 38 bill basically to protect residential residents. I don't do commercials, but I know a little bit, but I don't do commercial. My understanding is by January 1st, 2021, most of the protection through counties to cities are expiring. So commercial people can give 3 days starting from January 1st. But you better check with your legal counsel on that. With commercial right now, they don't have any notice. They just gave you invoice to basically remind you how much you owe.
So that's second part of Jenna Chu's question. So let's say a commercial tenant does not want or do not have the resources to pay rent during this pandemic period. So all we can do is send them notice. Is that your answer, Joy?
Yeah, not even notice. Usually it's the invoices of how much they owe.
So that's it. You
Yeah,
just tell
that's
them
it.
you
Then
owe
by
us.
January you can evict them, and or you can collect those money from the small claim court. But here's the thing, though. In California real estate, residential and commercial tenants are being treated very, very differently. So they really cherish the residential because it's other people's home. So they provide a lot of protection on the rental for residential. They have less protection to commercial, and every commercial uh, lease agreement is a little bit different. It depends on is triple net or is what kind, gross, is what kind of agreement. So most likely you have to check with the location city to see if there's any protection throughout that. Like LA City, they have a limitation for 3 months after everything go back to normal. But again, when is the normal time? We don't know. So you have to check with the city before you do anything.
Okay. Next question is from Nanette Ong. Uh, at the time when you are talking, Joy, your voice was going in and out. For some reason, the speaker was not capturing it, and she missed the part. Can you talk a little bit about late charges that we cannot impose upon a tenant? And her second question is, uh, you have the ability to check 50 state. Can some of us have the ability to check this tenants on his background on other states?
Okay. The first question is about the late fee. Okay.
Yeah, the late charges.
Okay, I'll repeat that part. California is a very interesting state. All of our lease agreement have late fee clause in it. So that's kind of like a general contract. But the court have different reading into the late fee section. So some of the judge cases say that they don't consider late fee. Late fee is not legal. Some of the judges say that, yeah, this is a contract, so late fee is legal. When we're doing eviction, usually we don't include the late fee because we don't want to complete the case. The part that the judge will really look into it is the rent. They don't look at late fee in the court of unlawful detent. You can try to collect late fee through small claim court. That's in a regular situation. However, if you are, during this pandemic, I repeat, a lot of federal banks are offering forbearance. A lot of banks are offering forbearance. If your loan is backed up by federal, you can't charge late fee. You can't even evict your tenant. But if your bank is offering you the forbearance, you can't charge late fee. A lot of people that I know, lawyers, consultants, people in my industrial, we all don't charge late fee right now. Just it's not worth it to do that. You can collect it if tenant doesn't pay. It doesn't scare them because the government said already it's not due. It's not due until January 31st. What is the late fee for?
And then the other question was checking the background on other state.
Oh yeah. Our company use a folio property management system. So in there, they allow us to check 50 states. Regular credit check doesn't do that. Zillow probably doesn't do that as well. There are a few softwares online that they can help you to check 50 states record.
Okay. And then you have another question. I'll get back to you later. So let me try other people first. This question is from Tom Shang. And the question is, Joy, what if the tenant rents by the room? Do they also fall under the same rent control
Yes.
and COVID regulation? Meaning I don't rent the whole place, I just have one room.
Yes.
Does the general rule apply?
Yes.
Okay. Next, Elizabeth K. Wang. Can you evict the tenants by putting the property on the market to sell? Basically, it's like a forced sale. hey, you have to move out. Can we do that?
The law says, okay, I'm no magician. I'm not even a lawyer. I don't practice law. So I cannot give you any legal advice, okay? The law says that the person who is going to move into the property, the buyer who purchased the property that's in the escrow, you go into the escrow and the buyer declare, hey, I'm going to move into the property. Yes, you can terminate the lease agreement. However, the fine print of this bill is that if you do that, this property better not show up on the market for the next 4 years. I can't say yes or no. I'm not legal consultant, but law says yes, you can do that. But the problem is that consequences is that you can't rent or sell, at least rent a property for the next 4 years.
Okay, so Elizabeth, go back and check with a lawyer who specialized in this, maybe talk to Dennis Block or somebody else, okay? Next question is from Jenny Kwan. How can I find a property in a rent control area? That's kind of...
I don't what does that mean? Like you want to find a property in rent control, or what kind of property is rent control?
I actually, I go around, I would do it the other way, if I may help to answer the question to Jenny Kwan, is I would find the property that I want to buy or rent, do that first, and then try to find out where that neighborhood is under rent control area. Because LA has certain rent control areas, Santa Monica, Los Angeles, metropolitan proper. So it depends on where you are, or let's say Irvine or La Puente. I would look for that first instead of going out, because otherwise you'll be searching all over LA for a rent control area before you locate your property. I would do it the other way around. Joy, you have any comment?
Yeah, but actually the whole California is under rent control. It's the property itself. Some of them are not rent control. Single family houses, condos, houses built within 15 years that rolls over. Okay, so every year changes. Houses that
ask the question, is Glendale under rent control?
Huh?
Jenny, the person who just raised the question and I relate that to you, say Glendale. How about Glendale? Is it Glendale under rent control?
Their city have regulation on rent control, yes.
Okay.
Each city is different. Once the CA passed the rent control law, a lot of city ate up like different things on how much rent you can increase. For example, like Long Beach is only 5%. Downtown LA, some area is 3.9, some area is 8.9. It's different.
Okay. Next question is from Elaine Han. It involves some dates, so I'm going to say this thing a little bit slower. If the tenant does not pay rent from September through January of next year, and then they start paying on February 1st, 2021, can the owner serve the 30-day notice on February 1st for the tenant to move out after January 2021? There's a lot of date in this question.
Sure. That's actually, they basically want to just kick the tenant out. Are you under the lease agreement? The question is not about the date, because by February 1st, 2021, we're back to normal. Supposedly, if they don't extend it, we're back to normal. So whatever that you can serve them to let them move, you can. It depends on how long they stay there too. So are they under lease agreement? Like, did they, one thing you need to pay a lot of attention is that you need to be very careful, because in certain area in LA, they have a very strong tenant advocate, like people help tenant. So they might claim that you want them to move because you want to retaliate. They don't pay COVID rent. So it depends. It's case by case situation. I would find a good excuses, then basically gave them the notice.
Okay. Next question, Joy. This is from D. Lee. Tenant doesn't pay the rent and constantly violate the HOA regulations. This is homeowner association, such as unauthorized parking on the street. Landlord always receive the warning notice and fine from the HOA. What can the landlord do? And can the landlord evict the tenant? And I know you don't deal with HOA, so this is something that just pop up now from Mr. D. Lee.
That's actually a question for Dennis Block.
Okay.
From my knowledge, you can serve them the 15-day notice of correction, then serve them 3-day correction or quit. Then you can start the eviction process for the not for the rent, but for the HOA violation.
Yes,
If they don't correct it, but if they correct it, then I don't know what to say. Good luck.
Yeah. Mr. Dealey, I agree with Joy, because now he is not under the COVID protection because he's violating the rule of the homeowner association. So you do have some substantial reasons to get rid of him. Next question is from Chi Hu. If the lease has not expired for whatever reason, we cannot evict them. And that's Chi Wu's answer to the previous question on HOA. I'm going to move on. Jenna Chan, okay. Tenant noticed landlord to leave at October 28th. On the 28th, the tenant blocked her call, no way to contact, and tenant left without giving back the key. The house still have some furniture inside. Can the landlord go directly into the house, or can she put her house on the market for sale?
Okay, so the tenant move out, correct?
Not yet.
You say there are furnitures. Is there any, like, is the utility still under the tenant?
They haven't contacted tenants, so I'm not too sure.
Call the, okay. This is kind of like how should I put this in the right way? This is more like a very sticky situation because they did give you the notice. So supposedly by the day, the notice that, the notice day, they gave up possession of the house. However, they still have the stuff inside the house, which means that they're not fully given up the possession of the house. If it's me, what I will do is I'll try every way to contact them, not only calling, but emailing, post notice on the door. Try to contact their workplace, trying to find out where they are and ask, hey, you moved or you haven't moved? If you moved, then you have 14 days to pick up your stuff, because you can actually post the abandonment of the house. Then, let them know that you have property more than $200. By law, I have to give you a notice. Please collect in such time. But this is also under one condition: they turn off the utility. If they haven't turned off the utility, then you can't really say they abandoned the house.
Okay. Next question. This question is on HOA Chiu Hu. And let me read the question. I'll give Mr. Hu some suggestion. Hi, Joy. I know a homeowner that, as I said, that's dealing with a very bad HOA. A family member of the treasurer seems to be calling the shot. So this person is not on the board, but is a member of the treasurer. What are the rights of the owner who is dealing with a bad HOA? And then who can the owner file a grievance against with the family member? My suggestion to who is, we have got a board attorney, Mr. Richardson, that I have used, and he specializes in HOA. So you might want to contact him personally. But Joy, what do you suggest for somebody who is dealing with a very bad HOA?
That's a great suggestion, because HOA board members has a lot of power with HOA monies. And the property management company who manage the HOA are actually hired by those boards. So it's really hard to monitor those people. Talk to a lawyer will be the best choice.
Okay. Now I'll take one more question, and that should be it. And then for those of you who have personal questions or particular issues, you might want to contact Joy Mao. Her contact information is on the screen. I know she's very busy, but if you can just leave her a message or send her an email, she'll try to get back to you. So if there's any more questions, send it to us. Otherwise, we are almost at the end of our presentation. Anybody have any comment? Okay, Joy, I enjoy talking to you, and I enjoy you doing a lot of good information sharing with our realtor board. We have over 90 people who attended. So it was a very, very interesting topic that, I'm sure some of us enjoy a lot, and then we hang around quite a bit. So I'm going to pass the floor back to our board chair, Pauline. Hi, Pauline.
Great. What a wonderful section. Thank you, Joy Mao, for your sharing and reminder to us for how to handle landlord-tenant situation during these challenging times. For Mr. Lee, thank you for your great help for this section. Thank you for your time, and we do hope to see you all in person soon. On behalf of Western Gateway Valley Realtors, we would like to thank again for Ms. Joy Mao, Pinnacle International, for your informative presentation to us. A quick reminder for this Friday, we have another great class. The national speaker, Mr. Michael Lee, will talk about defending your commission. And next Tuesday, 11 o'clock, Mr. Joe Haggerty will talk about title matters. Thank you, Joy, Mr. Lee, Jeff Huang Fong, and all of you joining today's class. Please stay for a minute. Thank you so much. This is our first draft, and then we will amend the music, match more for the photo. And we see you on this Friday, 11, defending your commission. Okay, we need to work and we need to get our paycheck. Thank you so much. We see you soon.